it's Finding Scruples, aka Tina. You just gotta be polite about it. And this is video number 3. Before I jump on into my walkaway story, I figure it's about time we get that out there, especially considering the events of the last few days. Before I get into that, I just want to say my apologies for turning off the comments. I really hated to do it, but if you guys are not aware, Walkaway had a wonderful, wonderful rally on Sunday. Walkaway from the Democratic Party. That is, of course, it was started by Brandon Straka. We love you. If you don't know much about Brandon, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the description section, a link to the website, and it'll give you all the information about Brandon's story, his journey. He is my personal hero. I was just so thrilled to have been able to have an opportunity to meet him on Sunday at the rally, along with all the other fantastic people that I met. So many people. I just don't, again, I never know where to start. But yeah, so if you want to know more about that, go on and hit up the description section and you can find out more. If you want to know more about the rally and my sort of take on that after it was all over, go ahead and hop onto my second video. I'll put a link in the description section so you can get to that as well. And I will be turning the comments back on, but I had to let the BS die down a little bit. It was getting a little crazy. So I hated to do it because the whole purpose, as I've said before, is to open myself up to you guys and to go ahead and take comments and everything so we can exchange ideas, especially those of us who are strong conservative voices who are under constant attack. It is getting really difficult out there for those of us. But you know what? It also is so beautiful because there's so many of us who are just over it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the comments. I want to give a shout out to those of you who have been leaving very detailed comments. There was a young lady who gave me, oh man, she went there with her story, and I was very, very touched. And unfortunately, I just cannot recall her name. I wish I had checked this before I started the video, but I went ahead and gave her some props also in the description section, so you'll be able to see that. And she did share a few articles with me, so I hope you guys check those out. It's regarding the human trafficking and some of the work that our wonderful president is doing in that area. Go Trump. And so anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into my walkaway story like I promised I would do the last time. I kind of got, caught up in the revelry of the walkaway rally, and so I'm glad I'll be able to do this. I'm going to try to, again, keep this under 10 minutes. It probably won't go to 7 because my walkaway story it's really, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm also going to try to be as careful as I can because it really does center around my place of employment and some of the impressions that I got during and after President Trump's 2016 campaign. So that was sort of what fueled it. It was a lot of the response that I was receiving from coworkers, and anyway, a lot to unpack. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this. I apologize if this runs too long. I'm really going to try to do my best to keep it under 7 minutes, and then when I start talking about other things, these won't be as long. But again, this is I'm still really new at this. I've only been doing this for like less than a week, so I think so far so good, especially with the feedback that I've been getting, which I absolutely love. And I promise you, unless it just gets crazy, I will not be turning off the comments. I don't like walls, and except for the one that the president's trying to build. It's the only wall I'm looking for right now, but I don't like personal walls. And so yeah, let's get into this. So of course, you guys know, if you watched my intro video, I voted Democrat. I voted for Hillary Clinton. I explained why I do that. I didn't go into much detail, but I did vote for her because I felt that she had a ton of experience, regardless of her personal views or some of the things that she had said. I was looking for experience, and she's got it. So, and I let that be known at work. Everybody knew that, but they also knew that I was leaning towards conservatism. I was also very open about that. And so during that whole time, I had just started working for the district that I work for, and everybody wasn't really taking Donald Trump seriously, and neither was I really. I just thought, okay, this is the second time he's doing this. Okay, we'll see what happens. Once it started to become apparent that he was a very strong candidate, especially after he secured the nomination, it just got ridiculous with a lot of the people that I work with. There were a lot, and you know, it happens. There was a lot of, oh my gosh, he's going to put us back in chains. A lot of our DACA students were rightfully so, you know, scared because, and I say rightfully so because youth do not really know how to process all of the emotion and all of the things that they hear in the media or maybe within their community or at school. They don't really know how to process that. And I think it's really important for us, whether on the right or the left, to acknowledge that that people have fears. Now, whether we think they're legitimate or not is we can leave that up for debate at another time. But for me, it was really important to acknowledge the fact that these students were upset and they were absolutely convinced that Donald Trump was going to be breaking down their doors if he won and dragging them from their homes. And I just really needed, you know, for students to know that, okay, we need to understand how American democracy works. That is not going to happen. This is a sanctuary city that we live in. We all know San Francisco is the king of sanctuary city. Do I agree with the sanctuary policy? Absolutely not. I will save that for another video. But it was important for me to pull my political and personal feelings out of it and really, really acknowledge the feelings of those students who were just absolutely scared. So as a result of that, safe spaces started popping up on campus. And, you know, I wasn't really familiar with the concept. You know, I am obviously familiar with the restorative justice piece. Not going to give my opinion on that, but we do utilize that. And it can be at times a pretty good resource depending on the people involved. Save it for another time. So safe spaces started popping up. And I believe I was in my either first or second year with the district. I can't remember. This might have been my second year. And so I was asked to lead the safe space because I work with, I get around, I work with all sorts of youth, all different backgrounds, all races, all creeds. I tend to be very, very, you know, committed and empathetic to our students, particularly our students of color. You know, I grew up on the south side of San Francisco. If you're familiar with that area, it's, yeah, it's a little rough. So I can relate. And so anyway, safe spaces popped up and I started leading safe spaces, and it was giving the students a chance to come on out and voice their concerns and then allow me to interject some sanity in there while remaining neutral. And so that's what happened. As time went on, you know, I actually expressed to a lot of the adults and to the students as well, you know, I'm voting for Hillary. Let me just preface that, people. However, Donald Trump is gaining traction, and we need to prepare ourselves and prepare the students for a Donald Trump presidency, because a lot of the fear and a lot of the misinformation that was going on out there, and black students coming up to me saying Trump was going to put them in chains and send them back to Africa. And I just, this is ridiculous. And I didn't see my fellow teachers really like down, like, you know, they weren't trying to correct that information. They were actually really feeding into it. And so I was paying attention to that too, and it was really, there was nothing I could do about it. I let my personal feelings be known when there were no students around. We cannot be doing this, but whatever. In a school of 200 plus teachers, it just wasn't happening. So I did everything I could to reach as many students as I could to just sort of put their fears at ease without interjecting my personal political opinions upon them. So as we got closer to the election, I'd always listened to Larry Elder, of course, Michael Savage, Michael Medved. I also listened to a lot of Anderson Cooper, a lot of Don Lemon, and a lot of Rachel Maddow. I wanted to get information from everywhere. I wanted to be well informed. I needed to know, like, Donald Trump has secured the nomination. We need to take him seriously. We need to see what the rest of the country is talking about and how they're feeling about this. I will say this, a lot of times here in San Francisco or in the Bay Area, we get caught in this little bubble. We think that like everywhere else is just like us. And so, you know, Berkeley, Marin, San Francisco, we are in a bubble here. And a lot of times I notice my lovelies on the left just refuse to listen to conservative voices because whatever personal reasons, they emotionally can't take it. I think they need to grow some steel, but that's that. So they were giving me a lot of crap because I was speaking out loud. I am listening to Rush Limbaugh. I was in my car at lunch, I had my headphones on during breaks. I was trying to get as much information as possible. I was watching the RNC. I was watching the DNC. I was just like, give me the goods. I need to know. I need to be well informed. This is going to be historic. Either way it goes, we're either going to have our first woman president or our first non-politician president. And this is, people need to understand the significance of this. So I just devoured news from everywhere. Come to find out, nobody else was really doing that. And they were really just sticking to the left, and just that was it. And I did try my hardest to convince people to maybe look to the other side, and I got called just, people were really just, how could you as a black woman? Democrats love to do that. Don't they love to tell you who you are? Especially the white people. I'm sorry, my white coworkers. I'm very outspoken. I had to check them several times. I'm not going to get into what that looked like. Perhaps maybe another video. But there plenty of times I literally was just like, you're crossing the line. I don't tell you. You don't tell me. So again, I don't want to ramble. So let's skip up to Election Day, Tuesday. Okay. So I the whole time I'm saying we need to prepare the students. Donald Trump is going to win this. By the time the election day came, I had listened to a lot of conservative voices, especially that day, all day. I was listening to the exit polling that whoever was on the ground, whatever journalist was out there, were taking, exit polling, and I was listening very intently. And it became very apparent where people were going with this. And the thing I found most interesting was that, a lot of these people, particularly, I work, of course, we're very educated people, bachelor's, master's, a few PhDs. It's an academic environment. It is an environment of intellectual thought, supposedly. People seem to not consider they consider the popular vote, but they were just not paying attention to the Electoral College. Not me. I knew. I was like, yeah, the popular vote, but you do understand that the first of 270 is the winner. It's like the tortoise and the hare, whoever hits the finish line first. Okay, so, and it might be surprising to you to find out who that might be. So all day I was like, oh, here we go. And of course I got home and I was following very closely the news. And when it became apparent that Donald Trump just was taken off, I remember calling one of my coworkers who is very liberal. I love him. We have a lot of other things in common. I'm a really big Marvel comic fan. And so we connected that way. His political affiliations or opinions, and it didn't matter to me. But I called him because I was like, maybe I should warn him. So I called him up and I'm like, did you vote yet? I vote by mail. So I knew he was going to the polling place. And he's like, oh, I'm on my way. And it's like maybe 6:15 in the evening, California time. He's like, I'm on my way now. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you not to vote. Of course, I would never tell anybody not to vote. But I just want to say, I really think Donald Trump's going to win this. And he's like, don't put that out there. Don't say that. And I'm like, well, but why are you saying that? I'm like, because he has 256 delegates to Hillary's not 256 delegates. She was trailing. And I mean, it just kept going up and up and up. And there was some excitement there because I just couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, here we go. So I was trying to prepare myself, for the results. And because I was, the one on the horse, the crying out, the British are coming, and trying to warn people for 6 months, and not warn them in a negative way, but just try to prepare them. I knew how they felt. I'm like, they're going to go down when this happens. So, of course, at the end of the day, around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the unofficial, that was it. Hillary conceded, Trump, I just thought, wow. I had some tea and went to bed. I just didn't think anything else about it. Got a great night's sleep. And I woke up the next morning completely just like, it's another day. Hadn't given anything any real thought. That's how I am. I kind of reset every day. Yesterday was yesterday, it's gone, it's done, today is a new day. Got up and I got outside, did what I need to do, got in my car, hopped in, got to my local coffee shop to get my coffee. And when I got out of the car and I'm walking down the street to the shop, I realized it is Wednesday morning. It is a beautiful sunny day. And if you guys know anything about San Francisco, fog, okay? It's just all the time fog, which is fine, but that's what it is. It was like summertime, beautiful summertime, like San Francisco summer, like September summer. The birds were chirping. I'm not even kidding. I know it sounds a little Disney, but I noticed all of these things. And was really taken into my environment. One of the things that made me notice, how beautiful of a day it was so quiet. It's like I half expected to see tumbleweeds. It was dead silent, and that's not normal for my neighborhood. I just was like, where is everybody? Because again, I completely forgot about the election results. So I go and get my coffee and make my way to work, and I get to the building and I put my key in, and all of a sudden I go inside the office that I work, and it's dark, it took a minute for my eyes to adjust, because I was coming out from the sun into the gloom, and I didn't really see anybody at first, but I heard sniffles, and I thought, oh, is anybody here? And apparently 3 or 4 of my coworkers were gathered in the corner, and they were bawling their eyes out. Okay, it was just, it totally caught me off guard. I'll say this, I work with a lot of what we call at-risk youth. I don't really like that term because I think anybody under the age of 25 with an underdeveloped brain is at risk of stupidity, of everything. You're risking, you don't have it together yet. Sorry, that's how I feel. I'm a mom. But so people were crying. The first thing that popped into my heart and into my head was one of my students had been killed or had succumbed to some sort of gang violence, and I just went into, oh my God, what happened? And so I go up to them, I'm like, what happened? And they were like, what do you mean what happened? I'm like, well, who died? And they were like, what do you mean? Trump. And I thought, well, Trump, they killed him? The man, I know you didn't like him, but I was so confused because the way these people were carrying on, it really seemed like somebody had died. And they were like, no, he's president. And I was like, well, oh, okay, but that doesn't really explain to me why you guys are crying like that. It took a minute for my brain to hone in on what the emotion, and it just didn't fit. So, especially after, me coming in from all the sun and the birds, and, I'm happy, and I was deflated. I couldn't understand it. They were throwing out like all sorts of excuses and, the usual liberal tripe about, it's this person's fault, it's that person's fault. And I just couldn't, I tuned it out because I realized in that moment that I was really, really getting upset. And the reason why, because it was like, okay, we're adults. And if you guys are responding like this after I tried to warn you in the first place, I'm not going to go there. What are the kids feeling? I ran to the nearest classroom I could find where my students were, and I wanted to check on them to make sure that they were okay. I'm going to try to speed this up, but so throughout the day, it just went from bad to worse. It went from bad to worse. There were all sorts of, we're not supposed to really be, expressing our political or personal views, in the workplace, and that rule went out the window. And the more crap I heard coming out of people's mouth, the more upset I got. And so I thought, what can I do? Well, I went home. I went onto the California Register of Voters. I found my information, and I unchecked the Democratic Party box. I went click. That was it. It was just a culmination of just everything that was leading up to that. But that day just let me know I'm done. I was just so done. And that's how I felt I could respond to what was going on, because I certainly couldn't express, how infuriated I was. I didn't want to upset anybody, and people's emotions were raw. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and switch. Now, I will say it was not an easy decision. And when I unchecked the box, I thought, oh my goodness, the weight of what I was doing sort of just caved in on me for a moment. And I realized that I wasn't just walking away from the Democrat Party. I was potentially walking away from my family, my friends, my coworkers, people I had come to love and respect. I knew already, I already knew what was coming, because I am a very outspoken person. There was no way I was not going to at some point come out about switching parties, and I just knew. So I had to ask myself, all right, girlfriend, are you ready for this? And the answer was hell yes. I was so ready. So I thought for a second that I might go independent, and thought I would just stay in the middle. But then I realized I was going to be voting for Trump in the next cycle, and I didn't know that I would be able to vote for him in the primary if I went independent. So I popped that red pill. That was it, and I was done. And so, perhaps I'll share in another video the aftermath of that when I finally did like come out to my coworkers. It took a month or two for me to do it. But when I did it, it was like a freight train, and I made no bones about it, and I was very open about it. And people ever since then, I lost a few friends, which was fine. They weren't really friends anyway. People did start to treat me very differently, but I realized they weren't going to say anything to my face because race politics. So, you know how they do with the identity politics, and they were a little confused. How can a black woman vote and be a Republican? And they just didn't know what to think of me. Anyway, that was that. So, I don't know. Now that I'm saying it out loud and recounting it to you guys, I'm not exactly sure that it was as interesting as I promised it would be in my first video. But just given, all of the things that have been occurring in the last few days, I just thought it's time to put this out there. And I wanted you guys to know what it was all about. So that is my story. And I went to about 20 minutes. I am so sorry. I really tried to get this to be short. I'm very extemporaneous. I don't script anything. I have a real trouble with that. I like to just go with the flow. And so let me know in the comment section if you felt that it was a little rambly. I would love to hear your opinions. I know my walkaway story is very similar to so many other people. And so if you have one that you'd like to share, I would love to hear it. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and sign off. Again, I want to thank all of you for watching. If you'd like to share this video, share it with the world. That's fine with me. Go ahead and like, and I will see you next time. Thank you.